Hello from the BaristaKurs in Hamburg. We've had to wait a long time for the Synchronika 2 from ECM, but now it's available at the end of 2024. Of course, we tested it right away, and you'll find out how it performed shortly. It's been about 6 months since we first saw the ECM Synchronika 2 right at ECM when it wasn't even on the market yet. That's when Michael Hauk introduced it to us, and we were totally excited. And of course, we ordered it right away because we wanted to have it in our course and of course wanted to test it thoroughly again. And the first impression we had back then simply been confirmed. It's an incredibly solid and well-built machine with a lot of chrome and stainless steel in a classic design. And since everything is always so nicely organized with ECM machines, we just took the machine apart to see how the components are laid out. Here we have the two boilers. It's a dual boiler machine, one for the steam boiler and one for the extraction boiler. Down here is the rotary pump, and that's where the connection for the direct water supply or the tank connection is. Here we have the entire electronic unit. Everything is laid out super clean. And as is typical for ECM, it features a brew group with a little twist because this brew group has two heating elements installed. Here you can see, I think, a bit of where the heating elements are distributed, once here and once down there. They connect directly through this additional block here, which is usually not included with the brew group. And as a result, it achieves an incredibly fast heat-up time. According to the manufacturer, in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. The steam boiler takes about 8 minutes, but that corresponds perfectly with your first espresso. Because after 6.5 minutes, you do a quick flush, grind your coffee, tamp it, get everything ready, and pull your first espresso, and then you can already start frothing your milk for a cappuccino or latte macchiato. ECM didn't invent preheating the brew groups, so it's not something completely new on the market. Rocket is now coming to the market with a machine. But I have to say that the ECM is the fastest with the classic brew group. It really heats up in 6.5 minutes. And this is of course also reflected in the price. Currently the Synchronika 2 costs 3,195 euros. And not only with this price, but also with the heat up time, Synchronika 2 positions itself roughly in the market segment of the La Marzocco Linea Micra. And just like the Linea Micra, it is a dual boiler. There are two stainless steel boilers installed, which are insulated. The steam boiler has a volume of about 2 liters, and the extraction boiler has a volume of about 0.75 liters. It has a width of about 30.5, height of 49, and a depth of 41, without a portafilter. It's once again an extremely well-built machine with high-quality materials, a lot of stainless steel, and a lot of chrome in a classic design. Beautiful rocker arms are installed there, and the whole thing is also reflected in the interior. Everything is incredibly tidy. We just started our restoration project. I'll link it here with an old BFC ELA, and compared to the ECM, it's just a complete mess. Otherwise, the outer components are very, very similar to the Synchronika. The drip tray is basically the same, if I see that correctly. You can install a wastewater outlet and a water supply as well. We'll get to that shortly. What's special about this water tank, which holds about 2.8 liters, is that it has a slot for a Brita Intensa filter, which we think is really great because it takes two components into account. On one hand, it's about descaling, and on the other hand, it affects the alkalinity of your water, which in turn reflects in the taste of your espresso. If the water tank is empty, it will be indicated to you via the PED display, and if it threatens to run out during your brewing, you will also be notified. But you still have the option to brew your last espresso. You have the option to connect a direct water supply and of course to connect wastewater. The drip tray is still removable from the front and has a capacity of, I would say, just over 900 milliliters, although that's not really manageable anymore. Oh, but 800 milliliters is absolutely manageable. I think it would be great if ECM could do a small upgrade and maybe provide a water level indicator in the drip tray itself. And again here, as with previous ECM machines, you have a small shelf for your blind filter, which I personally find very, very practical. The distance from the brew group to the cup tray is very generous at 10.5 cm, so you can still fit a scale underneath, along with your cappuccino cup or espresso cup, even with this cup riser in place. As with the Synchronik A, a cool touch stem plant is installed. And of course, there's a cool touch water outlet so you can't burn yourself. And again, a very large rotary pump is installed. The advantage of this is that it will last a very long time, and of course it operates quite quietly. And now we come to the actual innovation of the machine, because it seems, from what we've seen so far, to be quite similar in design to the Synchronic one. What is new, however, is the installation of two heating elements, each with 200 watts of power. ECM has added a small additional block at the bottom where the two heating elements are inserted. These are activated when the machine is turned on and are turned off after a certain period, once the brew group has reached its temperature. This means that the heating elements are not active all the time, but are really only intended for preheating the brew group. We'll test if the machine heats to 30 degrees in 6 minutes after cooling. When the temperature drops by about 30%, heating elements, as far as we know, will activate again. And whether the machine really heats up to 30 degrees in 6 minutes, we'll see shortly in our temperature test. One innovation of the machine with the PID control is this dial and click wheel or push wheel. With this, you can easily navigate through the individual wheel control navigation points. Of course, you still have a shot timer, which is crucial for timing. You can configure the extraction temperature, and you can also fine-tune your offset again, which means the difference between the displayed temperature and the temperature that actually reaches your coffee puck, and other parameters. And for that, we have also integrated our Geisinger thermometer again, which I love in the E-groups. The great thing about it is that you can read the extraction temperature. We'll definitely link you to our film that we made about it. Then you can also absolutely set an eco mode, of course. You have a time control, which means you can program 2 times per weekday. You can turn the steam boiler on or off. This can also be done via a shortcut function. You don't have to go into the submenu. Then you can, of course, set the pre-infusion again. This can also be activated or deactivated through a direct shortcut function. Then you have a cleaning reminder, and finally you also have the option to be reminded when you need to replace your filter. This can also be activated or deactivated through a direct shortcut function. Then you have a cleaning reminder, and finally you also have the option to be reminded when you need to replace your filter. As always, the well-known ECM portafilter is included in the package. I still think, first of all, it looks great, but that's a matter of taste, and secondly, it is really incredibly well balanced. As a double portafilter, it's included, and of course, single portafilter is also included. Then, of course, there's a tamper included, and it's in a very nice design. This time it is really noticeably thicker than on some other ECM machines. It feels great in the hand and is nice and heavy. We also have 2 cleaning brushes with us. One for the brew group at the bottom, and one for brushing off other things. Then of course we have, connection included, a water connection for direct water supply. And then we also have a small drip tray included. It is installed directly below the drip tray so that the water can drain. Of course, the Blindsip is also included, which I just showed you. And with that, we actually have everything we need to make our first espresso. But before we get to the first espresso, let's quickly go over the temperature test and the power consumption. The power consumption is really extremely low. You have the option to turn off the steam boiler, and if you really just want to drink an espresso and turn off the steam boiler beforehand, you'll have a power consumption of only 0.25 kilowatt for your first double shot. For our entire test cycle, including the steam boiler being turned on, which means rinsing once and pulling 10 shots in a row, we only consumed 0.444 kilowatt. Basically, the machine doesn't consume much less than a regular dual boiler, but you have the advantage that you can turn the machine on only when you want to drink an espresso, cappuccino, or latte macchiato. Throughout the day, you'll definitely save energy because you really only turn the machine on when you actually want to drink your coffee. With other dual boilers or heat exchangers, unfortunately, if you want to drink something spontaneously throughout the day, you probably end up leaving the machine on all day. And with this machine, we can simply save electricity thanks to the short heating time. Of course, we did a temperature test, we tested it thoroughly. And I can already say, yes, it can do it. There are 2 times for extraction. You have 6 minutes and 30 seconds, plus about 1.5 minutes to heat the steam boiler. After heating, run a flush shot for safety. Place your cups underneath. They will be heated, but after 6.5 minutes, the system and cup tray aren't warm enough. Run a flush shot for 10-12 seconds, then start. During our test of 10 extractions, the machine wasn't at the desired temperature for the first extraction. So, place the cups underneath. Let a flush shot run for about 10 to 12 seconds, and then you can get started. During our test cycle of 10 consecutive extractions, we found that the machine is not yet at our desired temperature during the first extraction. It's just under a degree below, and gradually it adjusts itself and really reaches the temperature we want after the third extraction. During the 7th or 8th extraction in a row, we then found that the initial temperature of the extraction is about 1 degree higher. This means that instead of the desired 92 degrees, we reach almost 93 degrees. This is also related to the fact that our extractions in the test cycle are very, very close together, with a time of about 1 minute between each extraction. That means this is something you definitely won't have at home. And if you do have it, we simply recommend that around your 7th or 9th espresso, just let approximately about 5 seconds of water run off at the beginning, do a 5-second flush, and then you'll be back in the temperature range you want with just a little bit more of a pause. Otherwise, you experience a slight temperature drop of about 1 to 1.5 degrees at most during the extractions. But that's just a construction-related issue with the brew groups. When it comes to the steam pressure of the machine, you can really only say that it has absolute commercial quality. It has an incredible amount of power, which you can also control through the temperature regulation. We already filmed the frothing in advance, and you'll see it's just incredible how fast the machine is. Now we come to the most important part of this whole test. This is the taste test. And for that, we specifically brought out our Malkönig GBW. And now we're going to brew a delicious espresso. We now have a testing ratio of about 1 to 2. Exactly what I want after 21 seconds. That's good for our coffee. And now we're going to give it a try. Wow. Super. Exactly how I want it. I'm curious to see how it compares to the Linea Mica, which is also great. And that's roughly the same class, so to speak, but it's wonderfully balanced. Excellent temperature. This is really fun. And to wrap things up, the important question is, who is the machine suitable for? Does it have advantages? Does it have disadvantages? But for this money, you get an extremely good machine. It is made with high-quality craftsmanship and has good components installed. The brewing groups last forever with a little care. They can easily last 60, 70, 80 or even 90 years. That means if you take care of your machine, you'll enjoy it for a long time. It has an extremely short heating time and it has very good temperature stability. And to be honest, we didn't notice anything negative apart from that. The only thing we wish for is a small float here in the drip tray. Otherwise, I have to honestly say that I don't know what I could find negative about this machine. I know many people always like to have a little criticism, but we didn't notice anything. Unfortunately, you'll have to look for that yourself. We think it's an all-round great machine that's a lot of fun. We're going to put it in the course now. Maybe after a year, we'll draw a little conclusion again and let you know what experiences our course participants have had with the machine. Let's see, it's definitely going to be exciting. We hope you enjoyed it and that we were able to give you some impressions of the machine. Thank you for watching and we wish you good coffee until next time. See you soon.